Welcome back to my channel. As I'm sure everyone knows, the government takes in a lot of money in taxes and they also waste a lot of money. So Senator Rand Paul, the past several years, has been making a waste report in which he goes over all of the worst ways that the government wastes its money. And each year, the US has just completely wasted its money in the most ridiculous of ways, such as in between 2010 and 2014, we spent $2.1 million per year encouraging Ethiopians to wear shoes. Now, it was successful. We made them want to wear shoes. However, then they couldn't afford to buy shoes and we just kind of left. So beforehand, they didn't wear shoes. They didn't care. Instead, we went in, we said, hey, you should really wear shoes. They're like, yeah, I'd like some shoes. And then we left. And I thought it would be fun to go over the worst ways that the US has spent its money over the past year.
I'm only burning my half. All you care about is money.
And you can either laugh about it or cry, I guess. But anyways, he found almost $500 billion of waste that the US federal government spent in 2022. Now, first off, about $485 billion of this is from paying off interest on our national debt. So our national debt is $31 trillion, and with debt, you have interest. So this year we paid about $485 billion of interest, and if you're wondering how much that is, it breaks down to about $1,600 per person. Or if you look at it as a percentage of total federal tax revenue, it makes up about 10% of the tax revenue. So that is a really large part of the list. However, it's not interesting, so I'm not going to include it in my 5 worst ways that the US spent its money. To start it off, the 5th worst way that the US government spent its money is they spent $28 million on camouflage that is visible within Afghanistan. So they developed forest camouflage for Afghanistan where they fight in the desert. So I'm sure you can figure out, forest camouflage doesn't help in the desert. You'd be seen super easily. In any way, that's kind of besides the point to me. Why does it cost $28 million to make camouflage? Like, haven't they already made it already? But the general that signed off on it looks back and says it was a dumb decision. Then next up, number 4 on the list, the government spent $1.7 billion on government-owned buildings that are empty. So the government owns 77,000 empty buildings across the country. And of course, an empty building costs money just to keep it the way it is. So last year, the government spent almost $2 billion just keeping them how they are. And personally, I think they should just sell them. That way they get the money from selling the building. They're not using it anyway. So it seems like a win-win. Then the 3rd worst way that the government wasted its money in 2022 was they spent $50 million to encourage people to visit Tunisia.
Tunisia.
Or anyway, however you say it. And while it might seem really silly to spend $50 million to promote people to go to another country, but it's even worse because Tunisia actually has a successful tourism industry. In 2019, they generated over $1 billion of tourism, so I think they're doing just fine. And it's one of the most visited places in Africa. So why are we helping them out? I mean, if we're helping somebody, at least help someone who's struggling. Or just help ourselves. And the 2nd worst way that the government spent its money in 2022 is something that they've been doing since 1996. So the government has been giving hamsters steroids since 1996, and it costs about $3 million per year.
Dad, all it's done is run on that wheel for the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, looks like it's in pretty good shape.
Can I pick it up?
I wouldn't.
They provided a grant to Northeastern University, and what they do is they observe hamsters through the effects of steroids. And it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, okay, maybe they do it for 1 year. You give them $3 million, you see the effects of steroids on hamsters. They're like, oh, they got strong and they got angry or whatever. But why have we done it? Like, why are we doing it for 20 years? That's $3 million every single year. I think we've learned everything we can learn from these roided up hamsters. And then before I get to number 1, I'll do an honorable mention, and that is the government spent $118,000 to find out if Thanos could actually snap his fingers. Like, it's only $100,000, only $100,000. So I didn't really include it on the list, but it's just absolutely ridiculous. So the US government gave out this $118,000 grant to Georgia Tech, and they did a study to see if Thanos wearing this specific metal glove would be able to actually snap. And it turns out that Thanos would not be able to snap because there's not enough friction. So, you learn something new. But why does the government pay $100,000, and why do I even care if Thanos could literally make the snapping noise in real life? But, like I said, it's not enough money to make my top 5. And then the number one worst way that the government spent its money in 2022 was by spending $2.3 million injecting puppies with cocaine. So this was to observe the effects of cocaine on the bodies. I don't know why they picked puppies and not an animal that people like less, like almost anything other than a puppy. However, it gets worse than that because the laboratory that the US government gave the money to actually was not able to do the test because the laboratory did not have the proper device to give the cocaine to the puppies. So it was kind of useless altogether. However, it's not the happy ending you're thinking. They did just send the puppies and the drugs to another laboratory that did follow through in the testing. So that's unfortunate. But really, why is the government doing this at all? I don't know. But that's my top 5 list of the worst ways the government spent its money. If you're interested in reading the entire article, I'll leave a link to it below. But I hope you enjoyed. I hope you were kind of upset with the government, or thought, hey, that was kind of funny. I don't know. But anyway, thanks for watching, and now it's time for your favorite part of the video, the joke of the day. Joke of the day, joke of the day, boop, boop, joke of the day. Why doesn't the IRS audit cows? Because the farmers milked them dry already. So, thanks for watching my video. Like, subscribe, comment, watch it again, and yeah, thanks, bye.